Good afternoon, Facebook land. Yeah, Phoenix here with Behind the Mask, episode 23. And for those of you who are new, um, this is my social experiment that I've been conducting for some months now, and showing up unmasked, tender, soft, tender belly exposed. Yeah, to really reclaim the power of our own vulnerability and the power that exists within the soft, squishy layers of our being. So it's always a bit of an edge for me. Yeah, especially because I show up here. I don't polish anything. I don't prepare anything. I just show up and share what's been moving me. And so, yeah, today I would love to talk about weaving our reality and what that means to me. I don't know what it means to you, but what it means to me. This is something that it's a real passion of mine. Like, oh, I'm actually creating my reality. And yeah, it's edgy to talk about this stuff a bit. It's edgy to talk about this stuff live because I know that there's, different opposing views. There's opposing views with everything, really everything that I think and feel. Anything any of us think and feel is always going to be some opposing perspective. And that's okay. Yeah, we can all coexist here together, sharing our passions, the things that turn us on, inspire us. And for me, what I've been really sitting with a lot, I don't even want to just say lately, it's been kind of like the past couple of years, is this like, I'm weaving my reality. I am a creator being. You are a creator being. We are creator beings creating our reality. And what does that mean? And how does that play out in my life, in your life? Um, and so, yeah, one thing I want to share, like this was something that I've been, inspired by for many, many years, and especially being on a path of awakening. Um, and how do I put my creatorship to good use? You know, my authorship to good use in a way that's not simply for myself, but that's for the good of all. I remember many years ago working with one of my first spiritual teachers. And when I was like just beginning to kind of grapple with this, like, oh, am I creating my reality? And she was just like, very adamant that creating reality that was like solely in service to self was, selfish and not necessarily in alignment with the spiritual path. And at the time I didn't really know what that meant, and then like starting to kind of recognize, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of The Secret or like Abraham stuff, like kind of getting into the zone, getting into the vortex of creating our reality. And like as I kind of watched all that, oftentimes some of the things, it would be like, I want a really awesome car, I want a man, deeper down this rabbit hole for myself. And I've begun to share these teachings or these wisdoms with people that come through my courses. I just make it really clear that when I talk about manifesting or weaving reality, I'm actually talking about weaving reality and manifesting reality that's in service to all beings. And that's also kind of an interesting place to stand, because if something is good for me, then potentially it's going to make great ripples out into the world. If I've got like a fancy car and an awesome partner and like a big mansion, maybe I am serving all of humanity. Though that's kind of my bottom line. I choose to focus my intentions and focus my um, creatorship towards those avenues that are going to nourish and ripple out into the world and serve more than just me. And that's it's been a really beautiful and humbling journey for myself as I kind of continue to take the reins of my authority back. And at this time in the world, there's a lot of opportunity to do so. Yeah, like at this time in our unfolding collective reality, there's a lot of opportunity to either like relinquish the reins and leave the creating of reality up to forces outside of ourselves, and or to like responsibly responsibly grab the reins and say, actually, I'm going to deepen in my um capacity to weave reality. Like if we're all creating reality, I'm totally gonna I want in on creating this reality. And sometimes I feel when I look outside of myself, or I kind of like go onto social media, or I look at the news, or kind of have conversations, it's like it seems like I'm living in some nightmare, actually. Or somebody so eloquently put it last night on one of my community calls, was like a sci-fi movie, like we're living in this crazy sci-fi movie. And like, I don't necessarily want to be in that. I don't want to be in that story. I don't want to be in this crazy sci-fi, or I don't want to be living in a nightmare, and how can I choose powerfully and responsibly to create a different reality, one that is in deeper alignment to my joy, my inspiration, my connection to this earth, and my relations, and in service and support of life. And like, for me, what I continue to work on diligently and practice diligently, which takes a lot of conscious effort, is how am I choosing to wield my thoughts? How am I choosing to wield my actions, my words? Because from my discoveries, I recognize that I'm creating reality in the way in which I choose to show up for life. Yeah, that beautiful adage, the way that we do anything is the way that we do everything. The way that I do anything is the way that I do everything. So it's like, if I'm constantly telling myself that I'm a loser, a piece of shit, then obviously that's what I'm going to feel, right? If I'm constantly like feeding myself chips and, I don't know, hot dogs, or just like McDonald's or something, I'm not necessarily, I'm gonna kind of become that. Yeah, we are what we eat. We become that. We become that which we kind of like project onto ourselves, and our reality therefore becomes that which we project onto it. So the way that I choose to look at my reality is, it's like this blank slate, this blank canvas, and I have the choice of which colors I'm gonna paint on, and which textures I'm going to put on, and the way I'm going to engage with it, and the way that I'm going to interpret it and respond to it. And so right now, I mean, always really, but right now I feel like this is we're like dancing on this really fine edge where it's like, ooh, what's going to happen next? Like, we're like literally living through the greatest show on earth right now, at the edge of the seats, front row and center. And it's like, well, what's going to happen? I mean, and how am I going to contribute to what happens next? And although I don't have control over most of reality, I do get to contribute my little kind of fractal piece. And what I've been experiencing is, the more energy, attention, focus, concentration I put onto my little fractal piece, that fractal piece kind of ripples outward into the world and into my environment, and then that continues to ripple out into the world and into the environment around it. So how am I taking responsibility for my piece of the bigger puzzle, my piece, and like how am I choosing to be a ripple effect in the world? So, um, one of the things that I'm talking about is, yeah, like what are these seeds or these colors or these textures that I'm painting onto the blank canvas, and I get to choose how I do that, So often when I speak about this stuff or I'm sharing about this stuff, it's like, what are the thoughts that we're thinking, and what are the words that we're speaking? What are the conversations that we're having, and what is the food we're putting into these temples, and what is the kind of information we're putting into our minds? Because I don't know about you, it's like if I watch um kind of like a scary movie, I'm going to have nightmares. If I watch something disturbing, then I'm going to be disturbed. If I watch something light and fluffy, I'm going to feel joy. I'm going to feel at peace. I'm going to feel in harmony. I'm going to feel connected. So, how am I choosing to wield my attention um, as a direct kind of contributor to the reality that's being kind of woven around me? And so, this has been a really big challenge for me, especially as of late, with all of the noise that's happening all around me, all of the uh, chaos that's happening around me and happening inside of me, because these thoughts are simply a reflection of what's going on outside. And what if the outside is actually also a reflection of what's going on inside? And so, if I can become more mindful in the way in which I relate to this chaos and these noises and these distractions, then I know from experience that reality begins to find more flow. And one of my current teacher and coach, he often tells me that I'm a master of manifestation. And I wouldn't necessarily call myself that, but I've been working with him for a couple of years, and he's just like, everything you say is something that you've like already predicted was going to happen, like months ago. I say I want something, and then it's almost like, I don't want to say almost, the way that I describe this is it's like I shoot my arrow. I shoot my arrow towards that feeling, that sensation, that experience, that reality that I wish to experience, or that my heart knows is possible for myself. And then it's almost like life begins to align itself to support me to take those steps towards that goal where I've cast my arrow. And I find that the more and more I focus on aligning myself to where it is I'm shooting my arrow, the more and more life begins to kind of becomes more congruent, becomes more and more congruent. Though that requires some effort, in the sense of like having to meet all those places inside of myself that are out of alignment, not congruent. And that can be really crunchy, and that can be really uncomfortable. Though I've become a lot more comfortable with the discomfort. I kind of, yeah, I'm becoming more accepting of the discomfort that comes in the recalibration, the alignment of self. Because it's actually, I know that through meeting the discomfort and moving through the discomfort and welcoming the discomfort and kind of like getting squeezed through the discomfort, alignment is what's on the other side. And I'm really, really down to be fully aligned with my heart and my soul and my higher self and all these different layers of myself, my beingness. And so, yeah, these days, and I find it challenging, more challenging than kind of 2 years ago, even though 2 years ago I wasn't this practiced in it. So it's like it's like the better I've become at aligning and manifesting and shooting my arrow and and moving through the discomfort, it's almost like life was like, all right, let's throw you another challenge. Let's throw you another challenge. Let's throw you another challenge. And so this deeper layer of alignment is happening. And I know it's not just happening to me because I live in a world with you all, and it's happening on a global scale. Clearly, we've got some stuff going on in the world that's causing a lot of distortion in a lot of our minds and hearts, and in a lot of our relationships as well. Even like people who have been really close and connected are like starting to kind of like, oh, the circumstances that we find ourselves on this earth are giving us some excellent material to move through, you know. And yeah, I've been finding that um challenge, especially, and it's coming closer and closer and closer and closer to home, where people that I love dearly, we're starting to kind of all question, oh, what are my values, and where do I sit and stand in like this kind of global climate that is here. And I keep asking myself, well, where do I sit and stand within, not only within this global climate, but where do I choose to sit and stand as an ambassador for creating the reality that my heart knows is possible? Yeah. And I don't know why, though it is what it is. I, it's like I've got my eyes, heart, soul, all of myself set on a reality that is for all my relations to be on the same team. One that's beyond conflict, one that's beyond polarization, one that's beyond selfish kind of means of kind of, you know, um, it's not just about me or any one of us. It's like I'm on team human, I'm on team earth. And the vision that I hold, the dream that I hold, the reality that I'm choosing to contribute towards is one where, we all have our place, and we can all occupy that place and that space fully. There's room for everybody. I don't need to think like you, and you don't need to think like me. And I just got distracted, and here I am. So we can be kind of welcoming a reality that is in service for all of us, where we can all be thriving. It's not like one person gets left behind. I literally woke up this morning and my first thought was, I want to be part of weaving a tapestry that's like woven tightly enough so that nobody falls through the cracks. Just think of that, like being part of a beautiful, glorious tapestry that's like woven with each of our individual threads. So woven so nobody falls through the cracks. Like all of us are welcome here, all of us. And so despite this kind of perception that reality around us is crumbling, it does definitely feel like it's crumbling around me, or the old reality of what I've always known my whole life, the kind of, control, I can do this thing, or I'm going to do this thing, or yeah, it feels like the old world, the old reality, the old story, as it's kind of crumbling. Like, what am I choosing to kind of project onto this new reality that I sense is kind of upon us? It's like ripe and ready, this blank canvas. And And that's really, like I already said, requiring a lot of attention, a lot of focus, a lot of concentration to be like, nope, I'm not going to let this kind of story in. Oh, nope, I'm not going to look at that form of media. Or like, nope, I'm not going to have that conversation with you again for the 50th, 60th, 70th, 100th time. It's like, really, think about it. How many times a day do you find yourself talking about the same thing that everybody's been talking about for the past year and a half? Or how many times a day do you notice yourself kind of struggling with like the decision of like who's there and who's here and where am I and what are you doing and what am I doing and like can I engage with you because you're doing that thing? Or like how often do we find ourselves a day like checking like numbers on the news, or kind of looking at new protocols and restrictions, or what's going on in this kind of crumbling old world? Like how many times a day do you have those conversations, you have those concerns? I know that it's definitely like the more and more I kind of track myself, it's like, fuck, there's so much time and energy, mental bandwidth is going towards this, like this one little piece of the story. And it's not the whole thing. It's not. It's like such a vampiric, I feel like it's such a vampiric energy that's like sucking so much of our attention, our time, our energy, our like resources, our connections, our relationships are suffering because we're all kind of like focused on this like one small story, a piece of a story, of a bigger story that's just like it's dead, it's crumbling. Like let's just let it die so that we can contribute to creating a new story that is in alignment. Like if you could dream anything for yourself and all of your loved ones, what would it be? What would it look like? What would it feel like? What would it sound like? What would it talk like? And can we begin to kind of pull in the reins of our attention so that we can author that story, weave that reality? So what I've done is I've like stopped looking at like the phone and the numbers, and like if the conversations that cause me stress or confusion arise in my field, I'm just like choosing to extract myself from those conversations. Like I don't want to contribute to a reality that is not in alignment with my heart's truth. And maybe that makes me like seem ignorant, or like I've got my head in the sand. But actually what I really start what I'm really starting to believe is that actually is giving me so much more creative authority to wield in a way that is supporting a new story to be written and woven for myself and all of my relations. If I'm not in total stresslandia around what's going on in the world, and I'm in my center and I'm at peace and I'm in my joy and I'm in my creativity and I'm in my inspiration, like this is actually what is rippling out into the field of like the blank canvas of the reality around me. And yeah, there is really real stuff going on in the world. So what happens if we kind of stop feeding it all of our attention? Like I know some people might think that's just impossible or ridiculous, or I'm just like living with my head up my ass or something like that. Though actually, what's wrong with that? Like what if from that place something new can be birthed, something new can be woven? And what if all of us chose to kind of rein in, pull in, call in the reins of our own attention and our energy and like begin to listen to that unique impulse of creation that flows through each of us because we're all creator beings. Like, what else does life do but like create more life? If you just look into nature, that's kind of what it does. It's either in the life cycle of sorts or in the death cycle. And then the death cycle just kind of recycles into the birth cycle and the life cycle. And so it's like while I'm alive, my creatorship is just simply here to create. So do I want to contribute to the nightmare by kind of focusing all of my attention on the problems that are happening in the world and all of the separation and all of the polarization and all of the kind of like being pulled apart and distracted, like, or do I want to contribute to like aligning and bringing it all into like cohesion and congruency and flow and harmony? If I get to choose that, I'm going to choose that. I'm going to choose alignment. I'm going to choose balance. I'm going to choose flow. I'm going to choose harmony rather than dissonance and like being pulled apart. Like I've been there, I've done that. I've been pulled apart, from the inside out at least. Hopefully that will be all just being pulled apart from the inside out. And yeah, like what I keep hearing when I tune in to that place from my own center, from my own seat of kind of internal power. Some may say from my head up my ass, which is cool, not too bad of a place to be. It's peaceful in there, like when I just tune into this place, this calm place and space within myself, what I keep hearing is that there really is not a problem. Like, there's not a problem. The problem is all kind of self-created. Like, what if everything that's happening right now in the world is happening for us? Like, fuck, I know I've been like totally upgraded in my own consciousness and my capacity to hold my center and like meet adversity and meet challenge from a place of action, peaceful action rather than reaction. And so what if what's happening in the world right now is simply happening for all of us to actually, rather than pull us apart, which, you can let that happen, or you can claim your authority. We can claim our creatorship and claim our authority and allow what's happening in the world to call us deeper into presence, awareness, focus, concentration, creatorship, alignment. Hey, honey. And weave reality from that place. Like, I say yes to that. I say yes to that. I say yes to that. And also calling more and more reflections, because like attracts like. So if I'm choosing to stand in this place and like, doing whatever I need to do to kind of rein in my focus and my attention and align myself, then I'm actually attracting and drawing in other reflections and other people who are doing the same. And then together, we do that together and we create a reality together, one that's in alignment for all of our relations. And that, for me, is so inspiring. So much more inspiring than like the boring, like, oh, what are the numbers today? Or like, I don't even want to give it any credit. I'm not even going to say it, but you're living in the same world I am. And we're also, it's like, how can we walk in two worlds? Like this distorted science fiction reality is happening, and we're also simultaneously creating this amazing reality that is in service and in support of all of our relations. Yeah, like that. It's like a balance, a balance. And how do I choose to contribute to balancing and like taking that space to weave reality from? So yeah, I'm gonna stop there. Um, but yeah, so I'm just gonna invite the possibility of kind of just being aware of how much energy and attention you give to like a distorted story, or to a story that like causes a lot of suffering and discomfort and pain and like separation and head fucks, or can you utilize that same energy, and like keep going deeper in and like seeking flow, like literally seeking the flow, like where feels like I can be most in balance and most aligned and most in flow with life. And things just start to shift. Things just start to change. And I don't have it all figured out, but I'm very curious. And I notice for myself, it's more challenging for me to claim my joy and claim my flow than it is to just go along with all of the craziness that's happening in the world. So I'm going to like challenge myself and continue to seek congruency and alignment within myself and see what happens. It's all an experiment, isn't it? So, yeah, how are you choosing to exercise your creatorship, exercise your authority? What are you choosing to paint on the canvas of this blank reality that we're all contributors to? And perhaps we can all work together to weave a beautiful, glorious tapestry where nobody falls through the cracks. And we can all be in service to all of our relations. Yeah. Shooting our arrow towards a reality that's better, more amazing, more extraordinary than anything we've ever imagined. That seems like a way better place for me personally to focus my energy. I'm just gonna let that other story of doom and gloom. I'm just gonna let that one keep fizzling away because it's not in service to what I feel is possible. So I'm just gonna follow the thread of what feels true, and maybe you do too. Okay, have a beautiful, beautiful day. Mwah.